Alright, well if you're familiar with Counter-Strike or Day of Defeat, you'll of course realize that there's a mini-map in levels that you play. There's a little map in the corner. It's called a level overview that shows you where you are in the level. And while I don't want to go too deep into materials, I do think that level overviews are something that are invaluable to a good level, especially when you want to share it online. So let's go over how you can make a level overview for, say, your Counter-Strike or your Day of Defeat level, like the one we have here. So first thing we're going to do is run the game, and we have to get a picture that's going to be our level overview. Now, of course, if you already had your map compiled, you wouldn't have to keep just running maps and recompiling it. You could just open the game and open up the BSP, but I'm just running through Hammer, so we have the most up-to-date version here. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do when you get into your game, before you even pick a team, is go to your options, video tab, and make sure your resolution is properly set up. So the best resolution to create an overlay at is actually 1280 by 1024. So you want to switch to 1280 by 1024 if you can. Unfortunately, I actually can't at this moment, but it's not really that big of a deal. 1024 by 768 should be plenty, and there's just one step we'll make sure that we hit if we have a resolution set to 1024 by 768. So 1280 by 1024 if you can. Otherwise, you can follow along at 1024 by 768. And make sure your aspect ratio is a normal aspect ratio, not a widescreen. Okay, so once you have that all settled, we'll create a server. We'll load up our map. Okay, you want to make sure that you click on Spectate. So now we're on the spectator team. Bring up your developer console. And there are several commands we have to get in here. So the first one, of course, is going to be our SV underscore cheats1. Make sure we can enable our cheats. And we're going to want to take a screenshot as soon as we get our screen all set up for our level overview. So we want to bind a key, make it so that when we press a key on the keyboard, it does a certain action, and that's going to be take a screenshot. So just type in bind, space, and then whatever key you want. I'm going to use P, space, and the command is screenshot. This way we can just press P instead of having to bring up our developer console and type screenshot, which will have a screenshot of our developer console. So bind it to P, or whatever key you'd like, and then we're going to get rid of some other elements from our screen. We're going to leave one because we'll turn it off in a few more steps, and that's our HL draw HUD. But we can hide panel, so we'll hide panel all, and we'll disable our skybox, so R underscore, so render skybox, and we're going to set that to 0 as well. And if you have fog in your level, you'll want to turn that off with fog enable set to 0, or you also have fog override. And you can set that to 1 to override your fog. And any other things you might want. You might want to turn off some props in your level. You could actually turn on render underscore draw static props and turn that to 0 if you want. I'm going to leave mine in. Just turn off anything on the screen you're not going to want to be there in your level overview. And the next step is going to be to actually switch our view. Then we can close that up. Kind of move our mouse up so we can see what's going on. Right now we're below our level here, which would not exactly what we want. So use the WASD keys to move. You might need to hit spacebar a few times to get your little cursor there, and then you can move up to where you want to be. Alright, a little bit of screen weirdness, but that's because we're not drawing our skybox. So once you can see, kind of get up here and see your entire level, or think you can. Don't have to be too precise. There you go. Get above. Kind of get an idea of what we're going to do. You might also want to adjust the lighting in your level. I mean, you see you've got some cool red, yellows, greens, but a dark level is going to make for a dark level overview. So before you take your screenshot, you might want to go and adjust your lights, at least for this level. Just save your map as level overview or something with brighter lights, because this is probably going to be a pretty dark overview, but we'll go ahead with it anyway. So back to developer console. And we want to change to what's called an orthographic view, basically just an overhead kind of blueprint looking view. So type in CL underscore level overview, and then there's a scale factor that we can use. And basically the larger the scale, the smaller your map is actually going to appear on screen because we're increasing the area that we're looking at, or we're able to look at. So let's just start with 1, see where that leads us. Change your console there, turn it off. And now you can use the WASD keys and move around your level. And you'll notice that bits kind of disappear and reappear, so it might be a little tricky with to get the positioning right. But there's one more step you want to do. You want to turn back your developer console, and you want to turn on what's called the CL underscore level overview marker. Marker, all one word. And here's where the different screen resolutions come in. So if you were using 1280 by 1024, you would type in level overview maker because that's the height of your screen. We're 1024 by 768, so I'm going to type in level overview marker 768. And this is important when we get into our image editing application to make a few adjustments, because the final image must be square, and we need to be actually either 512 or 1024 to compile correctly. So right now, I'm going to have a 768. If you're at 1280 by 1024, you'll type in 1024. Okay, and hit enter. Close this guy. You'll get this red line on the right side of your screen. And this is important. We need to actually align the right edge of our map with that edge. And so you notice we can't actually zoom out in an orthographic view, so we pan around and we're way too big. We're getting cut off on the right there. So go back to your console, retype CL underscore level overview, and we'll adjust our scale. So instead of being 1, let's try 1.5, which is going to allow us to see more. Boom. We shrink down. Now we're way too small. Come in here and you see there's green gap on either side of our map. So look for a value in between. Hit up just to get our last command. And I'm going to try something 1.3, 1.2. I think is maybe good here. Okay. That's pretty close. Try 1.3. And that's maybe a little small. So find something in between that works well for you. I think that 1.2 might have been pretty close. So find a zoom that works for you. And then pan around until you get your entire level on screen. So you might need to go right on that edge. There we go. See, I got it all in there. It's just barely clipping off a little bit on the right there, but it looks pretty good. So as soon as I get everything in there, I can align it wherever I'd like. Okay. Now, let's turn off that red line by bringing up our developer console and typing in CL underscore draw HUD. That's our on-screen display to 0. Turn that one off. Red line's gone away. Now we've already binded P to a screenshot, so just hit P once. It's really all you need. You can hit it a couple times if you think it's not working. Okay, and now we have our level overview screenshot, which we'll have to format a bit to make it work in game. Now, before you exit out of there, make sure you note the scale values you've added for your level overview. In our case, we have a scale of 1.21, an X position, or a pos underscore X, of negative 187, and a pos underscore Y of 510. That was our last movement there. So make sure you note those numbers. We're going to need those as well. And then exit your game. Okay, so open up your image editor of choice. I'm just going to use Photoshop. You could use GIMP or any of their favorites. So go to File, Open, and screenshots are found within your program files, Steam, Steam Apps, your username and the game that you took the screenshot in, DoD or Half-Life, and there's a screenshots folder right inside there. So it'll create a screenshots folder when you take screenshots. And here you go. It's got the name of your map and the sequence of screenshots you took. We'll open that up. All right, the first thing we're going to want to do is scale our image down. So you might have taken your image at 1280 by 1024. I took mine at 1024 by 768. Well, we want a square image, so you can set your new file up to 1024 by 1024. I'm going to set mine up to 768 by 768. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag my image into my new comp here. And I'll scoot it over so it just fits within these bounds here. So just making adjustments right on the edge there. I've had just a few pixels overlap. That's fine. Okay, and then we've got it all aligned. Make sure you're aligning the same way that you did when you were taking your screenshot there. And for you, you'll be fine at 1024 by 1024, but if you did take the screenshot at 1024 by 768, we have this last step of resizing our image. So we actually can't have a 768 by 768 when we're compiling our level overview. We either need it to be 1024 by 1024 or 512 by 512. So we can scale up or down. I might just go down for this one. You can see how well it holds up if you scale it up. Okay, we'll scale that image. Just close this guy back here. And we want to get rid of that green, so we want to knock it out with an alpha layer so that that's not seen. Only our level is seen in our level overview window. So I'm going to get rid of my background layer. I'm going to select all the green. Make sure contiguous is not checked there. I have all the green. I'll select my inverse, so select inverse. And in your channels, I'm just going to add a new channel. That's going to be my alpha channel. I just want to call it alpha. There, sure. Okay, and now with this area in my alpha channel, I'm going to paint that white because white is going to be visible in my alpha channel. So just get edit, fill. I'm going to fill that area with white at 100%. Okay, there you go. You can turn on your RGB again if you want. Switch off the alpha for the time being. And I could adjust anything else I want about my map. So could adjust my levels. And maybe I'll just brighten up the map quite a bit so you can actually see it. Now you could have done this with lights, but I actually like the hues in here, so just going to brighten it up within Photoshop there, but you might not have that option depending on your imaging software. Makes it a bit easier to see in our view. You can do anything else you want, maybe the edges you want to adjust, or you want to add scale lines or scan lines or something like that to your overview. Okay, and now I'm going to save my 512 by 512, 1024 by 1024 image with my alpha channel. I'm going to save it as a TGA, and I'm going to save it in the material source folder of my game. So I'm going to go up to DOD, material source, and I'm going to make a new folder called overviews. Within overviews, I'm going to save this file as the same name as my map. So we had DOD underscore 4 rooms. Okay, save the alpha channels, TGA, 32 bits to keep the alpha channel. Okay, I don't need my PSD anymore. You could save it if you want, the source file. It's closed Photoshop. And we're going to have to compile that TGA into a format that Hammer can recognize. And this is where we get into materials, and I don't want to get caught up on it, but let's quickly go over that process. So we'll go into our program files, Steam Apps folder under your username, Source SDK, and there's a bin folder. Now inside that bin folder, there's a couple different programs to use to create your mods and help you out. Now many of the other Noesis DVDs have gone through various of these programs. The one we're looking for right now is vtex.exe. So there it is. Now let's leave that window open with this guy highlighted here. Let's open a new window and grab the TGA that we just saved. So that was on our C drive under Program Files, Steam Apps, the username that you have currently loaded up. Day Defeat Source, DOD, Material Source, Overviews. Alright, a lot of folders. This is where it gets kind of confusing. Now, also make sure that in the Source SDK, your current game is set to the game that you want to create this level overview for, and that the Source SDK is running. It must be running to do this successfully. So make sure it's running. And we're going to take our TGA file, and we're going to drag it right over that vtex.exe. So take your TGA, hover in this window over vtex.exe, and just let it go right on top of vtex.exe. Now it's going to go through its compile process. It's going to tell you that it's making a folder for one that was empty there. And notice that it's saving our new file in the materials folder. So hit any key to continue. Alright, it's disappeared. So now we're going to go up a few directories here to DOD, not material source, but the materials folder. Look for the overviews folder we have created. And you'll see inside that a DOD fullrooms.vtf. That's the Valve texture format, a Valve texture file that we can now use as an overlay. But we're not done quite yet. Right, we need to create two more files that this file will use for reference to tell it how to display our level overview correctly. Now I've given template files for these in the support files folder on the DVD. The first one we're looking at to support our VTF is a VMF file, a valve material file, which is basically just a text file you can create in Notepad that you name with the extension VMT. So an example here. Basically, this is a material file that's telling the engine how to light and how to treat this texture file that we have, this VTF that we created from our TGA. And we have an unlit generic, which is the base generic name for a certain type of lighting. Not going to go over it too much, but just know that really the only value in here that you want to change is the map name that you're looking for. So we have our translucent set to 1, our brightness values, our other values set. You can copy these straight down or open the file off the DVD. We're just going to update the name of our file, which is located in the overviews folder within DoD, and it's called DoD_4 rooms. DoD_4 rooms. And we're going to save this file in the same folder in which we saved our VTF. So program files, Steam apps, our username, data feed source, DoD, materials, overviews, and we're going to call this the same name, DoD_4 rooms.vmt. We'll leave it a VMT. Change that to all files so that we don't save it vmt.txt if you have your computer set up to ignore extensions. So DoD_4 rooms.vmt. Save that there. Okay, now there's just one more file. You can also find an example in the support files on your DVD. And there are just a few things we need to change here as well. The first one is our map name, DoD_4 rooms. And we have to find the material file. So in our overviews folder, we just saved it. This is the VTF. We are DoD_4 rooms. Okay, and these values are what we carefully noted there right at the end before we exit Half-Life, once we had it all set up. So our position X for my map was -187. Position Y was 510. My scale was 1.21. And I didn't rotate. Now zoom. Zoom you're going to have to actually, might have to experiment with to see how it's going to zoom well when shown in full screen mode. I'm just going to leave kind of the default here. Okay. So we've got it named, we've got our values in here, and we've got the material set up as our 4 rooms. We're going to save this file in C, program files, Steam apps, your username, whatever game we're playing. So we have data feed source, DoD, the resource folder, and then we'll create a new folder called overviews, just as we did in our materials folder. Overviews. Inside there, we'll call this DoD_4 rooms, whatever the name of your map is. And we're going to save it just as a text file inside that folder. So we'll save, close that. We have our 2 files named the same in the overviews folder materials, VTF out of Photoshop, and the VMT file we just created. And we'll check that in the resource overviews, we have our DoD4rooms.txt. Okay, so that should do it. Let's open up our game. Data feed. We're going to create a server, our DoD4 rooms, start. Hit OK, join an auto team. Pick a player. Alright, and you'll see our scale might be off a little bit. We'll check it out. There we go. But you have a level overview, and you can see where you are in the game. You can see where the control points are in each of those places. Pretty cool in our data feed. You can play with the scale to get its values better in there, but as we run around, you'll see we're in good registration. We're in the middle. Shows us capturing our flag. Shooting guys, whatever we're doing. Captured. In the other room. It's a beautiful thing. So anyway, people will love you for that. Maps look a lot more professional when you have the level overview in there, showing you how you're running around within your level. Good stuff. All right, enjoy. Now there's just a couple more steps as far as packaging all this good stuff we just learned how to do. Some of these custom creations need to be included in the BSP file if you want to send them with your map. So let's check that out.